In order for me to be in this field, like, I need to be equipped to be able to defend my faith. I did, unfortunately, have a negative interaction. Off the bat, he just started, like, drilling me with questions, starting with, do you believe that the biblical story of creation is real? What do you have to say about free will? What do you say about temptation? Like, can an all-loving God, like, allow you to be tempted? And I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, I'm, like, doing my best to defend it. But if I'm being completely honest, like, I was significantly underprepared.
Yeah. And as a society, we need to get back to the place where we can exchange our beliefs, especially when you're a college student. That's very important.
Yeah. I feel like with me being in the scientific field, I have a lot of eyes on me in terms of how I need to live my life.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Square One Podcast.
I just ended my prayer. Can you start the intro again?
Wait, what?
I said like a little silent prayer.
Okay.
No, I'm good now. I'm good. I stopped it as you were starting.
Okay. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Square One Podcast. I got a real special guest today. But yeah, we have been appreciating you guys supporting all that. Season 2 has been a blessing. But who do we got here today, man?
My name is Kenny Damper. Also known as Kenneth Damper. From here, St. Louis, Missouri. Glad to be here, bro. Appreciate you for having me. Honestly,
we appreciate you coming on, bro. Long time coming, right? Because you've been hitting me up like, bro, he been on my bumper, y'all. He been like, yo, like when we...
I'm a fan of the show. What can I say, bro? I'm a fan of the show.
The biggest supporter, though. I'm not even, Dang. The biggest supporter.
Number one fan type?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't call you like a number one fan.
Yeah, that's Dukes.
I actually don't feel like fan is a bad word. I feel like people be like, you could be a fan of somebody. You know what I'm saying?
I don't see why people be weird, freak out about fans. Yeah.
No, for real. But yeah, like, I really appreciate it because you always like give me a review and stuff like that on the podcast. So I'm sure we're gonna have a great podcast. We talk a lot off camera, y'all. So we're gonna try our best to like make it to where like you guys can actually get something out of the pod. You feel me? Start them off by allowing them to know like who you are, like what you do, and things of that nature. Yeah,
for sure. So I just got my degree at Truman State University in 2024. Currently, I'm getting my Master's of Science degree in wildlife ecology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Doing a research project there on invasive barred owls in Northern California, basically looking at how we can use these real-time acoustic listening devices to see where invasive barred owls are for future protection of other endangered species, specifically the northern spotted owl. So I actually just got back from California last week, where I was doing my first season of that project, and now starting the writing process for like my thesis and papers coming up. So
it's coming.
Yeah.
It's
a really cool area to be in. So.
Bro, congrats on all your success in that. It's been like really cool to hear it because I think animal science is something that's a really cool study, but a lot of people don't understand it and don't know how to get into it.
True.
So I think you could definitely be like a really big inspiration to a lot of people who are like, I like animals, but I don't know how to like make something out of that, you know? So
no, that's real.
I think that's really cool. So but your specialty wasn't always invasive species, right?
No.
Started off big cats or?
So big cats is hopefully what I eventually would like to get to. My actually first ever interaction with doing some sort of research was undergrad at Truman State University, where I did small mammal research, specifically looking at small mammal abundance in different habitats such as prairies, woodlands, things of that nature in Northeast Missouri. And that was kind of like basically just a way of me getting my foot in the door for some sort of research with my advisor that I had at Truman at the time. From there, I basically had 2 opportunities over the summer going into my sophomore year and into my junior year, from my junior year into my senior year. The first of which took place in Miami, Florida, where I was working at their zoo facility down there in Miami doing tortoise research on social cognition, basically working with the species called the gopher tortoise, which are an endangered species in Miami, Florida, basically seeing how if there is some sort of fire in their natural habitat, how we can use social cognition to push them to areas of safety to get them out of endangerment. A very interesting thesis and project, I guess, that I worked on. That was really cool. Another opportunity for me to understand the scientific method And then the last, I guess, unique experience I had was that following summer at the University of California, Davis, where I did Amazon molly, which is a fish species that's a clonal fish species, basically looking 100% identical to its siblings and its mother, I guess, at that case as well. And basically seeing how we can differentiate between like a brother and a sister, essentially, from a different line, and at that rate to see if they can also identify and differentiate between their sisters or a different family member, kind of. So that was a really fun experience that I had as well. And it's really interesting you bring that up in terms of animal research, because one of the things that I think about a lot when I look at, my resume is that all four, I guess, including the project that I'm currently working on, all four projects that I've worked on are completely different.
Yeah.
I have small mammal, tortoises, fish, and now birds, or I guess owls specifically. And none of them really cross over, other than the fact that they're all the scientific method and dealing with research of some sort of capacity. And one of the things that my current advisor at Wisconsin said when I was applying, and he eventually accepted me into his lab, was that we don't necessarily look at the experience that you have for like this specific area. Like, we don't necessarily look at your resume and say like, where is your owl experience? Like, what tech jobs have you had dealing with owl research? We look at your experience, period. Because if you're able to understand the scientific method, if you're able to understand how to go about doing a research project, everything else can be taught. And that was big encouragement for me, especially not knowing like where I wanted to, apply, what areas of research I wanted to necessarily dive into. Because I didn't necessarily want to do any more work with small mammals. I didn't have a strong interest in fish or tortoises to try to find like an area of doing something like that. So I was kind of just open to any opportunity that I'd be able to get for grad school, doing a project that seemed really interesting to me, and a location that would allow me to see parts of the country that I haven't been able to see before. And at that point, found out about this lab and this research project, and haven't looked back since. So it's been great so far.
Really cool stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
The versatility is always something great to see, especially like when you're, young, having the flexibility to do different studies, I think is always important. So if you're out there and you feel like you don't know what to do a lot of things. That's what I always tell people, because you're just going to figure out who you are and what you actually want to do.
Exactly.
All right. A question that you're not too unfamiliar with is the St. Louis question. What am I going to ask you?
What high school did I go to, bro? If you're from St. Louis, you already know he was probably going to ask that. It was crazy. In undergrad, bro, like literally our introduction with people, it was like, oh, like, are you from St. Louis? Or like where are you from? And people like, oh, like, I'm from St. Louis. Like, the next question wouldn't be like, what's your name? It'd be like, what like high school did you go to? Like, clockwork, bro.
Yeah.
And it's funny you always ask that, because I always feel interested in giving my answer. I went to Chaminade College Prep School in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Which is I love my school.
Chaminade is a great school. Highly ranked, of course, in private schools in general. Yeah. But a lot of notable alumni.
That's right.
Did Bradley Beal go there? He did go there. Okay,
yeah.
Bradley Beal. And then, of course, you guys should know Jason Tatum went there. Probably the biggest alumni, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Biggest, yeah.
Sure. Take us back to those days, though, bro. Yeah. Because St. Louis had a crazy high school basketball circuit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Bashan was going crazy. If you guys know who Bashan is, there's a big city school. They had this guy named Hoodie Rio, who I don't know what he's doing right now, but he was a hooper.
Hoodie Rio, man.
Hoodie Rio is different. Of course, you had the CBC guys, Caleb Love, and then one of the guys in my grade, Robert Martin.
Yeah, Lil Rob.
Lil Rob was different.
That's right, yeah.
Larry Hughes. Where'd he go?
Larry Hughes
CBC?
Jr. He went to CBC.
CBC, yeah.
He went to SLU, I think, for
SLU Higher? Oh, college.
Yeah,
okay.
college.
Yeah, we got to hoop a little bit. I did drop you off. So if you see this, I did.
You did not drop off Larry Hughes Jr.
I dropped him off. I did. I'm not even.
We gotta talk about that on camera. Why you did it?
Larry Hughes, bro. Huh?
Merch?
Yeah, it's merged. I did.
Wow.
Just like we only had like one-on-one, but like I think we only had one possession, but I did.
One possession. You didn't drop him off if it's a one possession.
You know.
Wait,
do you also know I played against Tatum?
Okay,
I
we
locked
played
up
against
Jason Tatum.
We played against
Yeah,
Tatum. We talked
we went
about
to the Jason Tatum camp, y'all.
Yeah.
I did lock up Jason Tatum.
Talk about that. Can you mind talking about that story real quick?
Do you want to say yours first or mine?
You can go. You can go. I know I'll go next.
All right, y'all. Jason Tatum camp. I'm like, yo, this is a crazy moment. I'm like, bro, I'm in 8th grade, 14 years old. My head's still too big for my body. You feel me? I still got, you feel me? Like, puberty hasn't hit. But, bro, Jason Tatum's right there. Look, now, I think I had the KD 10s on.
Come on now.
I think the
Shout
KD
out to
10s.
KD,
So,
bro.
the KD 10s had, like, a sock type shoe.
Oh, bro, it did.
And it's like, you could tie them up, but they still a little loose. Like, you could fall out of them. And if you fall out of them, you're going to fall. And, you know, I've had issues we won't talk about it. Anyway, there's this drill, and Jason Tatum was on everyone. Now, first, Jason Tatum guarded me. Jason Tatum on me. I'm knowing bro want to send my stuff to the moon. I know he want to send it to Narnia. But I'm like, you ain't finna get to do that. So I just try to pass the ball. My homie, he ain't hit the shot. He was scary. Next, Jason Tatum puts me on an island, bro. This dude 1v1s me. Now, he got me in the post, all right? I got a picture. I'll put it up. It's a bad picture, but he has me in the post, all right?
I gotta see this. I seen it.
This dude is so weird. Jason Tatum, bro, you are actually kind of weird, bro, because you tried to embarrass an 8th grader, bro. He tried to spin off of me when I had some KD 10s on, the slippery joint.
He knew what he was doing.
I was going to fall.
He knew what he was doing.
Bro, I was planted to the ground. I'm like, because I had a feeling he's going to spin. He spins so quick, bro. He's like 6'10". I'm like, yo, like, he went. So,
and
now
for preface as well, this is like year 2-3 Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3-4.
Yo, this is the summer after he just dunked on LeBron. Yeah. And he cursed him out or whatever.
Yeah, that's year
if y'all,
2, maybe year
2018. This is 2018. So Tatum was
so year 2.
He's like
he was
19.
Draft,
No, he's not 19. He's like 20.
Yeah, he's probably about like 20
he's like 20 years
so.
old. So he's quick. He's fast. He's strong. He has me in the post. So he gets me and he tries to pull up for a fade. I was in his eye though, yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I was in his eye and he missed it. And they was like, yo, that was good defense. But if he would have like made the shot, he could have made the shot.
But you locked up Tatum.
Did I lock up Tatum, y'all? This is a real story, but what do y'all think?
Actually?
Like, do you think, was it because of my defense or did he just miss the shot? Let me know, y'all. Because everybody said I played good defense.
If it's good defense and coach says that you did your thing, then you locked him up.
You feel me? I'm just doing it.
He didn't score. So.
Yeah. Did you have any moments with Tatum though?
So like the biggest moment that I had, I guess from the camp, was honestly kind of similar to you. We were doing this drill where it was just mainly swinging, and then like coach would be like, "Oh, like pull it if you got an open shot," and it'd be like it was basically like a 3v3 basically, and you're swinging and you're trying to look for the open man. And like we're doing it, and then right as my group goes up, Jason Tatum walks over and he's like, "Hey, let me get on defense." And I'm like, "Oh shoot!" And I'm at the top of the key, and Tatum comes up to the top of the key and he's guarding me, and I'm like, "Bro, you're joking." So like we're swinging it, the ball goes to me, and I'm debating if I wanted to shoot because like Tatum saw me get into my shooting stance. He's like, "Shoot it! You won't shoot it? Shoot it!"
Yeah,
and
he used to talk trash, y'all.
I was like, "Oh shoot, bro! Like I can have two disses. I can say like." I shot over Jason Tatum and got my stuff to Narnia, or he sent it to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, you feel me? They would have seen my ball go through and not say it. Yeah. So I was like, do I do that? Or do I say, like, do I shoot it and say, like, "Hey, I just made a 3 over Jason Tatum. Like, I'm better than him," you know? Bro, I'm in my shooting stance. Tatum is looking me dead in my face, trash talking. I passed it, bro. I couldn't do it, bro. Yeah. I froze. I was like, bro, if I airball this, I'm not going to be able to let it down. Yeah. But now I look back and I'm like, I should have shot it.
Okay, yeah. You should have shot it because nobody was watching?
Nobody's watching.
So it's like, if you miss it.
People was watching. Okay. I had scouts there, bro.
Really?
No.
Yeah. It was no scout. Hey, actually, at the, it was so funny because in high school, I used to tell people I won the MVP of the camp.
Bro,
Yes, I did. It was so, because like people used to, like, basketball has always been a big thing and people want to know that you're actually a ball player.
Yeah.
And like those arguments get deep. So I went to Tatum camp and I actually, the last day I won an award. It was like best sportsmanship or something. Or no, it was the Camper of the Day award. So I did win Camper of the Day.
Did?
I was Camper MVP of that day.
I wish I knew you back then,
bro. But I used to tell me like, bro, I was Tatum Camp MVP. Like, you could ask you. I used to say it 50 times a month. Like anytime basketball come on, I'll be like, I'm Tatum Camp MVP.
That's actually kind of sad, bro.
No, it wasn't,
Like,
because as a 15-year-old, that's the biggest flex of being Tatum Camp MVP. So
I actually don't know who won MVP.
I don't think we had a real MVP, but there were dudes that were like 18 there.
No, for real.
So I was
the range was kind of crazy. Like you had like 5th, 6th graders there, and then you had people that were like juniors, seniors. I feel like,
And our team won the championship, so I could have just said I was a Tatum Camp champion. But I was so cocky, and I needed people to know how good I was.
You was Tatum Camp Finals MVP.
Tatum Camp MVP. Like, every time, they was like, bro, shut up. Like, I'm surprised they didn't smack it.
They was tired of you, bro.
They was tired of me, bro. Not too much about me, though, bro.
Okay.
I want to get back to you. Bro, a lot of people to know. I mean, you got ice on right now, though, bro. But you're a scientist. Mm-hmm. You do go under that category.
Yeah.
Which is a category that is a bit, I don't want to say it's opposing faith, but a lot of people in the science world are opposed to faith.
Yeah.
So what's your faith? Are you Jewish? Are you Jehovah's Witness? Why do you laugh? Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? Like,
I'm Christian. Yes, I am Christian.
Okay.
I grew up going to a Baptist church. My dad is actually a Baptist preacher. So basically, ever since I can remember, I grew up every Sunday going to church. It was just routine for my family and I. And it's really interesting. Obviously, you hear the saying that you start taking your faith seriously when you're able to apply it outside of your home.
Definitely.
When you are making your faith unique to yourself. And for me, that was when I guess late high school was kind of when I started realizing that. And then going into my freshman year, the reason I say late high school, because we mentioned I went to Chaminade. Chaminade was actually a Catholic school. So while being at Chaminade, I was able to understand a lot about Catholicism. And at that point, especially in my theology classes, I kind of started noticing the difference between what I grew up knowing with my Baptist teaching and Catholicism. And it was great having my dad there because a lot of discussions between him and I were like why do some Catholics believe this, why do we believe this, and that really helped me understand truly what I believe.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
When you were going through this, was there ever something in you dang, maybe Catholicism is the truth, or because I always think about it like this is kind of my standpoint on it. As a Christian, I feel well, if you're a Catholic, obviously you believe Catholicism is the fullness in the truth,
right?
But when it comes to Protestant or evangelical, you kind of have the option to say that just Christianity is the truth.
Yeah.
So anyone who falls in line with that, the Nicene Creed could say that you have the fullness of the truth. What was your thoughts, though? Were you ever maybe this is true?
I don't think I ever did.
Okay.
There were a lot of times I feel like I was almost the opposite, and obviously this is all in a respectful manner because I'm truly blessed to have gotten the opportunity to go to that school first off, but then also to understand that theology on a deeper level than kind of just seeing it across social media, actually being in theology classes where they're going deep into it. Because for me, that added substance into what Catholics believe specifically. Yeah. I think if I would have seen a lot of their beliefs on social media or just out in the world without understanding the tradition that they have behind it, I probably would be a lot more opposed to that belief or a lot of the beliefs that they have. But I wouldn't say that anything from my schooling, made me question, is this the truth or not? Because overarching, Catholicism is very similar in a lot of ways to Baptist teaching. There's just things that are different in terms of how they, view certain figures of the church, let's say. And I'd say things such as that is where I'm kind of maybe I don't necessarily wholeheartedly agree with that, but the belief that they have is very similar to what I grew up believing and what I still do believe. So
it's kind of interesting you say that because there was a time on the internet where the whole Christian community was very much so like Baptist, Southern Baptist, really.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were learning about Catholicism only from a Baptist lens.
Wow.
Which, like you said, is the complete opposite of what you got.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those people became opposed to Catholicism. Fast forward to 2025, where we have a Christian community that is very Catholic, I would say. There are a lot of different Catholic influencers, and a lot of people are now, you know, joining their church. That's kind of something that changed because people are like, hey, I learned about this in the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like interesting that you kind of had the reverse, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's also you bring about like social media influencers and people that we see now being having more of a Catholic view.
Yeah.
You also see a lot more churches today being non-denominational as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if you also like maybe want to bring up that, but like I think that's very interesting because like parishes and Catholic churches have been around the longest, and that like because, you know, Catholics are very strong in numbers, that's something that you will always have. But I think we're seeing over time less and less of traditional like strong beliefs in other denominations, that now it's kind of like non-denominational churches are what's kind of on the rise right now, so to say.
No, it's true. I mean,
not competition, but also in association with Catholic churches.
Exactly. I mean, it just seems like there's like two avenues now to go down. Like you're either going off of the tradition, because I don't want to leave Eastern Orthodoxy out. I mean, that's very popular online as well now. So you have like all the churches, Orthodox, you know, Eastern Orthodox, Catholics. But then you also have a lot of people that are just like, hey, I just want to now go into a non-denominational sense where it's not about going to the institutions. It's not about all of that. It's more so just about your relationship. So I feel like there's a lot of different diversity. And I think to us, it's a beauty. And then, of course, to other Christians, they'll have different opinions on it.
For sure.
You know? But we can agree to disagree. What do you see in the comparisons when it comes to faith, your faith, and what you've studied? You've studied a lot of the natural world.
Yeah.
Does the natural world point to an existence of God to you? And if so, why does it?
I think it's really interesting being, as you previously mentioned, like in the science field. And obviously, as you mentioned as well, science doesn't necessarily, I guess, traditionally associate with the belief of Jesus Christ and with the creation story that, you know, we believe biblically. And we hear about, you know, the Big Bang and like the start of the world being, you know, a result of scientific discoveries or whatever. And I think for me, it's honestly really interesting being around people that have that viewpoint specifically, and kind of like me knowing what I believe. And maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I've actually been able to have a conversation with coworkers and people who are in my field who don't necessarily identify as Christian or religious at all. And I've been placed in, you know, uncomfortable situations where I've had to defend my faith, or have these discussions with people in my field. I guess I have two examples, I guess, that come to mind primarily. The first of which is kind of like more of a happy, you know, good feeling one. I was, this past summer when I was in California, I was driving around with one of my coworkers out there. And she's a little bit older than me. So she grew up, and her whole childhood, she was Mormon. Like, she went to a Mormon church, had a very strong Mormon upbringing. And because of, you know, things specific to her upbringing, she no longer associated with the church whatsoever. Like, she completely, you know, shut off, like, all views that she had about, like, you know, Mormon religion, and basically said that was kind of like the extent of what she would choose to believe when it comes to any religion. Because of that bad experience that she had, she didn't want to associate with another theology, or didn't, you know, choose to believe any other religion. And so I obviously was led to talk about my upbringing, you know, growing up Baptist and having the opportunity to attend a Catholic high school and learn from there, and how I really enjoy just hearing about, you know, just different religions as a whole and just listening to different people's viewpoints. And she was like kind of asking me like questions about like what I believe, and it was like very basic, you know, not really like a strong defense that I had to give, and it was just really nice to hear that she was just like genuinely interested in what I believed and was curious about like what I had to say about certain issues or about like certain traditions in the church. And at the end of our conversation, she was like, I just want to say that like you should be very proud of yourself because you're an anomaly in our field for 2 reasons. One of which you're an African American in the science field, which obviously is, you know, there's a very big lack of representation. And but then also you're a Christian in this field that isn't normal, you know, for either of those. And it honestly just made me feel very happy and just very blessed to be able to know that she sees that in me and to be able to kind of carry that and know that I'm defending my faith in a field where we're not necessarily, you know, having conversations like this daily, you know, at all, really. So that was really nice. Yeah.
Dude, I love how she like kind of gave that answer to you and was like very charitable with you.
Yeah.
Because, bro, as a society, we need to get back to the place where we can exchange our beliefs, you know, and exchange ideas.
Yeah.
And especially when you're a college student, that's very important because that's all that you're doing with the professor. Basically, you're telling them what you think. They're coming back and telling you what they thought about your thought.
Exactly.
And it's like, as a people, like we need to understand that these conversations are important to have because you need to understand why people believe what they believe before you can actually be, you know, someone who can share something to them or, you know, be able to convince them that you have the truth. Because I think a lot of people have like adopted this idea that you should just let me have my truth. And like you should just allow me, like you should be tolerant to whatever I believe. Well, the thing about that is, if you really feel that you have the truth, the only thing you should be doing is, 1, analyzing other people's idea of their truth, and then 2, sharing your idea of what your truth is. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to progress as a society. You know, there's no way that we can continue to just be like, you know what, you think that's cool or whatever, because that's not intellectual at all. And I feel like that's not how we've been able to make any type of progress.
I think it's interesting as well because if we choose to, I guess me, you know, kind of having this conversation, if I were to only associate with people that were Christian, currently, at least in undergrad, there were people that I was close friends with that were Christian that I had classes with. Currently, I haven't been able to have that community of people, you know, that I'm in class with, that are in my lab, that are Christian. So if I were to completely, you know, choose to not associate with people who didn't like share, or if I chose to only associate with people who share my belief, I probably would have no friends currently, you know, in Wisconsin, unless like they were all in church, which I guess most of them are.
And they're kind of older, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
it would be like an older
also
audience.
A difference. You
so
know,
you want to
well.
be able to like still be able to like be a witness to those who are younger. And whether you're atheist or a believer in God, you know, or any type of religion, you should seek to have conversations and relationships with people of other beliefs. Because I think a lot of people are like, especially when it's like we have this big idea of like being a street preacher, they just want to come up to you and share you the gospel. Well, I don't know you. I don't know why. I don't think that you actually care for me.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
If you are coming up to me and you're saying, hey, like, this is what you should believe in, why should I care? I don't know you. You're not my friend.
You know the first thing that came to mind when you bring that up?
Yeah.
You know those people that try to sell you stuff that like come door to door?
Yeah.
How often do we close the door in their face? But then if someone that I know were to come to me and sell me the same thing, I'm at least going to hear them out.
Right.
I'm going to like hear what they have to say. I could still say no at the end of the conversation, but I'm going to let you say what you have to say because you're my friend. I trust you. So it's like, that's a good point. Like you do have the people who would take the street preachers and listen to what they have to say and you know, give their life over to Christ. But then most of the time it takes hearing it from a person that you personally know for you to accept it. So.
Yeah, and I do want to say that I'm not saying that all street evangelizing is bad.
For sure.
You know, you should definitely still go out there and make those connections. All I'm saying is sometimes it's better to like start off smaller and then be able to connect with those people later, you know, and continue that relationship, you know, because maybe it is good to like plant that seed, but then there may not be somebody after you. So maybe the chances of you actually getting through to them would be higher if you're able to like actually relate to them, you know, take them out for a cup of coffee one day. It just kind of reminds me of like a creator. This guy, it was actually a Catholic creator. His name's Iron Inquisitor. He doesn't create anymore. He's actually trying to become a priest.
Oh, wow.
But
Awesome.
what happened was he was going down the street one day, and then these two guys came up to him, and they kind of asked him a trick question because they were like, hey, do you believe in God? And he was like, yeah, I do. And they were like, who do you think God is? And then, of course, he said, you know, the Trinity. So these guys were like, yeah, I believe that really. And then they were like, yeah, you should come to our church. That's how he said it in the video. He was
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
that was like their way of inviting him to a church.
Wow.
And I'm guessing if he wasn't going to say their answer of God, they were going to like kind of try to preach the gospel to him.
Yeah.
And he walked away with that feeling like, that was kind of fake. Like they just kind of tricked him into like having a conversation, because he just thought it was a regular conversation on the street because that's how they made it sound.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to always be authentic with people, and like you want people to be open to the conversation. Is there anything else you want to say about like how science and faith complement each other, how the existence of God? Because a lot of people don't know that modern science was built on church foundation, right, and Christian beliefs. So what are there any further ideas you have on that?
Yeah, I actually wanted to go back, and maybe this is a parallel as well, to that second story that I mentioned. Like I said, that was the positive interaction that I had with the one coworker. I did, unfortunately, have a negative interaction. Something, like, I call it negative, but it was honestly a win in my book, because I'm very glad that I had this interesting interaction with someone. Once again, out in California this summer, I was on a drive with one of my coworkers, and for, I guess, some context, where I'm deploying these audio devices, and all of our research that is done in Northern California, they're like pretty far out into the forest, like deep in the forest, like two and a half hour drives from where like we're stationed or where our house is. So like if you're riding with someone, like you're gonna have a lot of time to get to know that person. So I had been out with this coworker multiple times before, and you know, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite people that I've been able to meet out there. And prior to that day, like all of our conversations have been about like food and TV shows and whatever. And so I think we like started the drive by like, I think he asked me like what I was doing on Sunday, and I was like, oh, like I'm gonna go to like the church or whatever. And then he was like, oh, like I didn't know that you were religious. And I was like, oof, wasted sign, like right there, bro. Oh my goodness. Because like obviously one of the things that you would want people to know about you is that like, you know, you're like that your belief is showing that you're a Christian. And I kind of had to, you know, talk to myself afterwards and was like, okay, but like let's look at the interactions that I had previously. Like that topic just never came up. But also it's never too late to have these discussions. So I was like, let's start now, you know, let's dive into this. So I told him I was a Christian, told him the whole story that I told with my other coworker, growing up Baptist, going to a Catholic church. I asked him what he believed. He said that he's not really religious, but he aligns most with Buddhist teachings. And like I previously said, I honestly really enjoy hearing from people from, you know, various religions, and just hearing what they have to believe and like who they say God is, and being able to either find common ground or just have a conversation as a way of like letting them know, you know, what I believe and why I believe it. So this was, you know, I was obviously my opportunity to do that. And off the bat, he just started like drilling me with questions about like my faith and why I believe it, starting with, you know, obviously we're in the science field. Do you believe that the biblical story of creation is real? What do you have to say about free will? What do you say about temptation? Like, can an all-loving God like allow you to be tempted? And I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. And so in the moment, I'm like doing my best to defend it, but if I'm being completely honest, like I was significantly underprepared. And it was very embarrassing for me in the moment, because I was like, bro, like he probably is like sitting here with like all of these ways of how he can debunk Christianity, and I can't sit here and like fully defend it to the way that I want to. So if I'm being honest, bro, I had to go back and, talk to people who are my friends in the faith and kind of say, like, bro, like, how would you defend this? Like, how would you answer these? And it's interesting because I want to hear, like, what you would also have to say about some of these, like, obviously about the creation story. Because I was to say this, we've talked about this previously off camera, and I won't steal your thunder about this, but you said something that, like, is very eye-opening in terms of how you, like, view a way of debunking that, if you wouldn't mind saying that.
Debunking the creation story?
Yeah.
Yes, this one is really fun because a lot of people don't also understand Christians have different ideas of the creation story. Some Christians don't believe the earth is young. They're not young earth creationists. That's what they call them. Some Christians believe that the earth is billions of years old. And there's nothing in the faith that says you cannot believe that the earth is a billion years old. But when it comes to the Genesis story, something that I heard this from Trent Horn, actually, he's like an apologist, is the Genesis story is as true as it is when you tell your kids how babies are made. So you're telling them in a way that may have some analogies. It may have a lot of different rhetorical devices, but the point remains the same. And a lot of people don't understand the Bible isn't a science textbook. It's not even a history textbook. While there is science, there is history involved in it. It's basically God and his reasons for why he's done what he's done.
Yeah.
Some people will also say, well, there are animals that aren't in the Bible. So how can the Bible be real? Yeah, they'll say, like, well, the Bible doesn't know about certain animals, so how is the Bible true? Like I said, the Bible is not a science textbook.
Yeah,
and Genesis is by no means a science book.
For sure.
So I think a lot of people, you have to look at Genesis for just what it is. It's a story, and it's telling a story that is making a theological point. All right, so it's best that we understand that there are different disciplines. I think that's kind of what I would have said in the moment. But yeah,
I like that, bro.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, but obviously, long story short, it was obviously a wake up call for me that in order for me to be in this field, like, I need to be equipped to be able to defend my faith. And I mean, that's honestly something that's like an ongoing journey. That's something that I'm still striving to do. That's something that I'm still praying about and still trying to work toward.
To wrap it all up, though, is there anything that you want to say to anyone who needs advice pertaining to the existence of God? Maybe they're looking into science and they're saying, hey, I feel like evolution disproves God. Like we said before, there are Christians that believe in evolution, but a lot of people don't know these things, you know? What would you say to these people that are like, hey, I want to believe in a God, but I feel like science is holding me back from doing so?
The first thing is that you shouldn't feel limited, I should say. I'm trying to remember if this was while we were recording or not, but when we were having the discussion about a church, so to say, like, let's say you went to a church and you had a bad experience, or, like you said, you didn't necessarily feel that Jesus was speaking to you through that sermon or, through that service. Like, what's stopping you from going to that church where you feel that God is calling you? Because we hear all the time in the scripture, and obviously that's something that we always say, is that, like, God is right where you left him. Like, he's waiting to meet you. He's waiting to have that communion and intimate relationship with you. And all it takes is you being disciplined to finding that. And, it can be difficult. The biggest thing that I would say is to take that upon yourself. I would say first start off and get a Bible where you can actually read the word yourself. A lot of the times, and kind of going back to a church as well, is you're leaving your discovery of faith solely based off of one person.
Yeah.
And because we're humans, like there's a chance that we may fail you, and you may take what a pastor is saying, but you can't necessarily take that as like, okay, like, this is the end all be all. The whole point of a sermon is to get you through the week. It's supposed to, like, you can actually go into the Word and actually confirm this for yourself. So get a Bible, and I'd say be able to like go to the Word and actually discover these things and get these questions answered for yourself. The second thing I'd say is build a counselor or a community around you who are also believers, who can guide you through your faith. That's why we have mentors in our faith, and why it's so important to have people that you look up to. I reference my dad a lot, as I said, a pastor growing up to me, and it was just amazing because even though I was young and I kind of like knew a lot of this stuff from a young age, even now there will be times where I'm like reading the Bible or I'll hear a sermon and I'm like, is that like, do I actually believe that? Like, is that true? And then I'll like go to my dad, a person who's actually been studying this for, years, like 20 plus years now, and ask him like, is this true? Like, could you help me like understand this? Because like you need to have someone that you trust as well, and depending upon which church you go to, like you may, trust that pastor, like if it's a relative, it's a close friend or whatever. But having someone who's close to you, who is deep in their faith, who is able to interpret things, on a different level is very important. And then finally, I'd say, pray about it and like have that open and honest conversation with God, because there's nothing that you can do that like, he doesn't, like there's nothing that you do that he doesn't see, so being able to be transparent and open and honest with him, like through your prayers, and, say like, God, like I want to fully experience you. I want to be able to hear you and see you and feel you, is very important. And like God won't fail you, and, being able to pray and ask God to be able to give you a sign that only you are able to confirm, like, is Jesus like, speaking to you, then like, believe me, he will show up. Because, I'm big on, personal account. That's one of the ways that I personally see Jesus, not only in my life, but then in the lives of people around me as well. And that's just something you ask and pray for, that, Jesus will provide to you just through a simple prayer and you giving your all in your devotion to him. So
I love it. Yeah. Just to summarize it, I guess just coming at it with a humble heart is important. Yeah. And there are so many resources out there for you, use your resources and stay humble and understand that you may not know everything, and somebody may have that truth that you're looking for to even talk about that, to end it all off. As you all know, Square One is not a theology service. We are not a platform that speaks too much on theology, although I would love to create a theology platform. Yeah, for
probably
sure. With you, that'd be so dope.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be cool. Great. But we do have some of Kenny's friends who speak a lot, and they have their own podcast.
You know what's crazy? I was literally just thinking about plugging them.
Okay, yeah.
But then I was like, I wasn't sure if like I should plug another podcast.
We gotta plug them. He put me on.
Yeah.
Just a short little thing. They're called the Reconcile Room. Allow people to know what they do, and then just kind of, if we could just give them their socials. I'm sure their social it'll be on the screen, so you guys don't need that.
We can put their socials up there, and the page to the channel. But the Reconcile Room Podcast is a new podcast formed by one of the guys that I personally know from University of Wisconsin and two of his other friends. Basically, a podcast centered around people who aren't believers but are having questions about Christianity, and it is about like simple questions that like honestly any general person, like I watch it, and even though it's not catered to me, like I'm honestly learning so much just from this podcast as a believer. Things like why are Christians sometimes hypocrites? Why do Christians view negatively about alcohol? And like different topics that you're like, oh wow, like I've always questioned this, I've always wondered this, and they come from it with scripture, with sources, and honestly giving personal account as well, about how they've seen these things impact their life, personal experiences of like things that they've had, what the scripture has to say about these topics, and ultimately like what we as Christians believe and how we should choose to live. And I think that's where I personally gravitate as well, is because even though I know it's not catered towards me, as a new believer, which is what the focal point is, it's teaching me how I should also live as a Christian and how I want to be viewed. And I feel like with me being in the scientific field, I have a lot of eyes on me in terms of how I need to live my life. And like that's kind of like the next chapter of life that I'm in right now is like seeing the experience that I had this summer. How can I prevent a conversation like that from happening in the future?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be better, you know, to defend my faith? And that's one of the resources that I use.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a great podcast. Like you said, we can put
them on the screen. Yeah,
on the screen. But that's honestly really good.
Yeah, shout out to them. Yeah. I hope some of you guys will check it out. Just have those conversations and look at other people that are talking about it, because it will benefit you. You know, these conversations need to be had. And luckily, it's some people that are really close to Kenny that are actually having that. Yeah. But it's been great, man. I know we had some technical difficulties, but I really did enjoy this one. I think we had a really good episode, man. Really good, I appreciate you coming on. We appreciate all the viewers for going back to square one with us. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Shout out Cane's, bro.
Bro, no free promo.
Free promo for Cane's. Best fast food place in America.
See ya.
You know,